the largest telco in India with the maximum number of users as well as the biggest share of the overall revenue pie. But market leader Airtel seems to have run into trouble with arch rivals Vodafone and Idea, with both of them beating Airtel in terms of sheer number of new subscribers added every month. Surprised, so were we. Well, sit up and listen in as Nikhil Shivadas brings you this very interesting story.
I believe to celebrate a milestone, we must celebrate the journey. Celebrate the journey. Celebrate the journey. Celebrate the journey.
वैसे हर एक ट्रेंड जरूरी होता है. ऐसे हर एक ट्रेंड जरूरी होता है. कोई सुबह 5 बजे नींद से जगाए. हर एक ट्रेंड जरूरी होता है. It's the brand that taught us that every friend counts. But when it comes to making new friends, Telecom giant Airtel doesn't seem to be taking its own advice. Over the past 5 months, Airtel has seen its number of net subscriber additions dip steadily, rebounding only this month when it managed to add 1.26 million new customers. The story is very different for Airtel's rivals Vodafone, who managed to add 7.3 million new customers since February, while Idea managed to beat both Vodafone and Airtel by adding 8.5 million new customers. Now the big question is, what is causing India's largest telecom player to lose out on new subscriber growth? Well, the answer is a focus on revenue generation. Where earlier new customer acquisition was a key cornerstone of Airtel's marketing strategy, nowadays the focus is on revenue generation. And a key part of that strategy is to increase revenues from existing customers as well as aggressively promote new product offerings and especially its data services.
Airtel has invested substantially in 4G, which is principally data, and has invested obviously in the acquisition of additional markets from Qualcomm, their investment there. So they have to make that investment work for them, which means that they are going to have to focus on the segment of customers that are very heavy data users.
Airtel might have become complacent, and it's a typical behavior in large dominant leaders in categories, which is that over a prolonged period of time, you start producing regular growth and regular profit margins, you tend to slip into a complacent mode. So there can be no running away from the fact that Airtel did get into that mode for a good 3 to 5 year period.
Airtel's renewed focus on revenue generation instead of subscriber acquisition is because its growth in terms of revenue market share has been dipping. From a high of 30.4% in the quarter of December 2012, Airtel's revenue market share has fallen to 29.9% in the quarter of March 2013. To make things worse, Airtel is still struggling to bring its Africa operations under control and has devoted a large part of its resources and manpower into its operations there. Africa is proving to be a drain on Airtel, leaving the company too distracted to adequately focus on its India operations and deal with its rivals.
With Africa coming in, obviously the talent pool gets divided, so half of the talent pool is looking at Africa, trying to see how you can, because they took over Zain, which necessarily I wouldn't say was doing phenomenally well. I think Airtel's been trying to turn it around, so they've needed some serious horsepower there to actually change the tracks in Africa. So when that happens, I'm sure that there would be some bit of shortage of talent in both sides.
While Airtel has been trying to put its house in order, its arch rivals, Vodafone and Idea, have been gaining ground in terms of new customer additions. Vodafone has been aggressively targeting new customers through its value-added service offerings and data services. This includes its Zuzu campaign, its activities around the IPL, as well as its rural and small town focus, where it has been pitching 2G and 3G data service products.
Idea.
Aapka phone, Papa. Idea, on the other hand, has been able to connect with more customers thanks to its telephone exchange campaign, as well as its focus on increasing its presence in the rural market.
Ultimately, it's about your strategy versus theirs, and currently our strategy is winning over theirs. Because we are second, we try harder, and there are a couple of areas where we are beating them. One is in the whole rural approach. We are far more focused on the rural belt, and we are far more focused on penetrating the rural belt. We penetrate actually deeper than them. And the second part is in the new businesses of where we want to focus on, which is one of them being data. Okay, and that's where we are very strongly focused on, and we think we have the whole experience which we give a customer, we think is very critical. It's not just selling the product, but the experience curve, which while he's using the data. And that's once we got that right, we think we will win.
We have gone back to basics. Basics of market working. We have one difference in our business model is that we have a direct distribution. So even in the far-flung areas, rural belt or hintertown, we still have a direct distribution there. What we feel that this brings us closer to the customer, closer to the market, and closer to the ground reality.
Then there's a change in marketing strategy that Airtel has engaged in. Where earlier campaigns helped give it a consistent branding with instant recall thanks to its emphasis on the friendship theme, Airtel's offerings over the past few months, such as the 1 rupee mobile video ad, has been decidedly tamer. Focused on just a particular service rather than the brand as a whole. That's something that could potentially alienate new customers.
Yes, Airtel has given out clear signals that they are a youth-centric brand and they stand for the youth, and they're doing the whole 1 rupee video, which also continues the youth centricity of it. But what I think I'm missing is, what does brand Airtel stand for rather than what does product Airtel offer to me?
See, definitely the strength was their thematic approach, friendship. I think that was definitely a strong approach. That's what people connected with. But I think the direct approach somewhere is getting lost in the clutter. I feel it's not really. I don't remember which brand is that. It just comes and goes. It's not something that's really engaging. It's not something that's enjoyable.
Airtel's inability to turn around its Africa operations fast enough, coupled with an apparent dip in terms of revenue market share, as well as a fall in terms of new customer acquisition numbers, have all had an impact on the company's brand value. So much so that London-based advisory firm Brand Finance has downgraded Airtel's brand value from $5.2 billion last year to $3.7 billion this year. That's a massive drop in ranking from 187th last year to 314th this year, and a sign that Airtel needs to act quickly to get its house in order.